involved with. And it's hard to watch that. It's hard for me to watch that because I remember specifically that day, that was only our 7th rally. This Friday, we're going to have our, well, that was our 7th rally in January of 2012. And every Friday since then, we have gathered at that bell tower, including last Friday and including this Friday coming up, with the intention of empowering our community to stop the violence. And how do we do that? You saw the people that came. We have children. What am I going to say to that 10-year-old kid that shows up to the bell tower and says, my uncle got murdered in these streets 2 years ago, and I'm here to honor his memory? What do we do to the 10-year-old that says that to us? We have to create opportunities for those people in our neighborhoods and in the circles that we find ourselves in to create hope. That's the solution, creating hope. There's absolutely no reason, no good reason anyway, why the suicide rate in the First Nations community is 5 to 8 times higher amongst our young people. No reason. There is no good reason why in our institutions up to 80% of the population are First Nations people, when in the population of Canada we only represent 4%. So how do we fix it? How do we change it? What can we do? So, can I turn this off? Can I turn this off? I told you guys already about how I started working after I graduated at a drop-in center as a tutor, doing the homework club. And that was what connected me to the young people and just revealed to me, I would ask the kids, like, what did your teacher say to you, when they gave you this homework? And just the low expectations that these educators have of my kids, that's not okay. So when students or young people that I know or I'm connected with, whether it's the Bell Tower, AO, or some of our other initiatives, sometimes they don't have a parent to go to parent-teacher night. So I'm so happy to go. I'm so happy to go. I don't need a paycheck for that. What? I get to go and hear from a young person in my community about the things that they've accomplished and that they're proud of? Where do I sign up? Can I go for every kid? Is that allowed? It's not. Okay. But it's that relationship. And like, okay, so I worked there for 4 years, and I was able to ultimately go from that part-time tutor in 2005, gradually more and more responsibility until when I finished working at that drop-in center in 2009, I was the supervisor. So I had a staff team of 17 individuals, all of whom were older than me at the time when I was 21. And as a team, we saw 100 kids at least per night come through our doors. And it was a very bold, I think, decision of that organization to put me in a leadership position at that time, because we were dealing with young people as young as 12 and as old as 24. So to put technically one of the participants in a position of leadership, I thought was a very brave move of the organization. And so I was like, all right, this is like a freakish thing that they have done, putting me in this position. I need to take this seriously. I need to represent. I need to blaze a trail. And so I tried doing that. I was like, what can we do? We had some challenges. We had gang challenges, right, where young people would come in, they'd have a rag hanging out of their pocket, like little hand signals with the kid across the room. What do we do about that? Well, consistency is the answer. Consistency is the solution. So consistency and integrity. So for me, as the supervisor, I always said to my staff, I will never ask you to do anything that I would not do myself. Never. So that means that the time when I let a homeless man come in who wasn't one of the youth, who was under the influence of probably a bunch of things, and he went into the bathroom and he shit everywhere. Was I the supervisor that said, all right, staff person, go clean up that shit? No. I was like, ugh, integrity, damn it. I let him in. I gotta go clean up the shit. And I literally did. Like, it was on the walls, it was on the handle, like there were footprints. I mean, what was he doing in there? I just don't know. But leadership, right? It's about, sometimes it is about delegation, but sometimes it's about doing the dirty job yourself. And you do the dirty job to show your team integrity and say, well, I will never ask you to do anything that I'm not okay doing myself. But, hey, when it happened a few months later in the summertime and I wasn't the person who let them in, was I more than okay as a supervisor delegating one of the staff to clean it up? Heck yeah. But you know what? That was only because I'd already done it. And they knew that I was willing to do it. So it's that example and that role model that I think my staff really needed. And another thing was that we had a lot of, violence issues in that drop-in center. And so they're like, okay, so we got this gang issue, okay? We got this violence issue, and we have this we'll pick three. We'll say education is the third main issue. When kids didn't have any help with their homework, and they just were falling out of school, those types of things. And how do we address them? So consistency, 100%. Integrity, 100%. But we have to be a counterforce to these forces in our community that attract our young people. Why is that gang so attractive? It's because they validated every single individual. And what's your name?
Christian.
When Christian joined my gang, I said to Christian, you know what? You're really, really good at X, Y, and Z. And you know what? You're so good. I'm going to give you this goldenrod paper just as a token of my appreciation. And you know what else they did? They said, you know what? You're so good at this that I have a job for you. And you're really important. And I think you're probably the only person who can do this job. And send them on their way. Now, can you see why those gangs are so effective now? When at home and at school, all they get is a no or, condescending attitude. Why are those gangs so attractive? Because it's the only place where our young people are being treated like human beings. So, they need an alternative. I left that organization in 2009, but can I walk away from 4 years of getting to know hundreds of young people? And like in 2008, okay, just before I finish my story, in 2008, I created, and I say I created, meaning I'm the person who happened to write it down, but really this is a lesson for my young people. They're the ones who taught this to me. They taught me how to engage young people in a good way. And engaging young people in a good way means consistency, right? So like, how can we take our little drop-in center that began to be really successful and share it with other people? Well, I was like, okay, well, what's working? How are we stopping this gang violence? How are we stopping this education barrier for young people? Well, it was simple. It was getting to know them. It was knowing their name, knowing what they liked, knowing what they didn't like, knowing what's up with their family, who do they stay with? Do they live with Granny? Are they in CFS? Small things that educators and workers in programs do are little things like, oh, here's this permission slip for an outing that we're going to go on. I want all of you to take this home to mom and dad and sign it. Does anybody know why this might be a barrier to young people? Why would that be a barrier?
A lot of them don't have a mom and dad.
Bingo. A lot of them don't have a mom and dad. So how would you feel if you were in a group of people and no one spoke up? They're like, I'm the only one who doesn't have a mom and dad in the room. Shame. That's the reality. That's what happened to me. That's how I felt. And so it's that relationship. It's getting to know the young person. And so now I know whenever Christian gets rowdy that, he's really good at math. And I also know that Christian stays at home with his granny. Christian, if you don't calm down, call in your granny. guess what? Christian began to behave. Little details like that. I also happen to know that Christian is a fantastic skateboarder. And we're having a skateboarding outing tomorrow where we go skateboarding. Hey, rowdy Christian. If you don't knock it off, you're not coming tomorrow. Guess what he did? He stopped. And then the next day I got to be like, hey, look, man, you behaved yesterday, so now you get to come with us today. Let's go. You know, but none of this would be possible if I didn't get to know Christian. If I didn't ask him what his name is, if I didn't ask him what he liked, if I didn't ask him what he was good at. And I'm probably doing a horrible example right now because I didn't technically ask you any of those things. Sorry. But that's how you do it. And so this is what they taught me. Okay, so this is the lesson.